What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Floor is Yours podcast. It's Thursday night, so you know it's time to have a conversation. It's time for us to talk that talk. So here at the Floor is Yours podcast, as always, I desire to have real and relevant conversations that moves the community forward. And so tonight, we're going to try to do exactly that. Tonight's topic is more than money, and of course, I can't do it by myself. I got my main man, my brother from another mother, the other half of the G unit with me today. Gerard Flex, the producer, is in the house. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, people? What's up, brother? How you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You know, I got to shake these haters off,
Man,
but,
listen,
you
you're gonna
know,
do
they
that the
can't
rest of your
stop me.
years on this earth, man. You know?
No, man, I come out swinging. I
Yeah,
come out
yeah.
swinging. You know, look, I may be pretty, but I'm a problem. So,
Okay,
you know,
okay, cute and pretty.
come on now. Hey.
Yeah.
Um, But glad to have you tonight, man, for this conversation. Tonight's topic is more than money. Now, before we dive into the conversation, I want to ask everyone that's watching to like, share, and subscribe. Let everybody know that the Floor is Yours podcast is on, and we're bringing that fire tonight. So, as I just said, we're talking about more than money, which is really a deeper dive into that always ongoing question about 50-50. It seems like this generation has brought this conversation to the foreground. Generations in the past, they did what they had to do. Sometimes they worked together, sometimes the man was able to do it. But now it seems to be a bit of a requirement for the man to pay everything. That seems to be the case. And so we're going to dive and talk about exactly what is it that a man brings to the table. And for you ladies, does your loyalty have a price tag on it? If a man is able to pay your bills, is he essentially paying for your loyalty? So we want to dive into that. But before we do, let's talk about what 50-50 actually means. So, Gerard, I think you can rarely turn on social media, and there's always someone talking about uh, the expectation of a man and how he should contribute financially. And so there seems to be two sides of this conversation when it comes to 50-50. So the theory behind 50-50, if those people who don't know, is the idea that when two people come together in a relationship and start cohabitating or even married, that they both contribute equally to the household finances. One person puts in 50% of the cost, other person puts the 50%, and together they pay 100% of the bills. And so that has some people uncomfortable. Some people feel like it's the man's requirement to pay all of the bills, and some people say it only seems fair. So before we get into the conversation, Gerard, where do you land on this topic? Is it fair, or should a man just be a man and step up?
Man, this old saying that people say fair is a place they judge pigs, right? So no,
Come
in other words,
on.
I think it's less about fair and more about setting expectations based off of true understanding. So, and some people say, like, Gerard, you're taking the easy way out. But I think, everybody's situation is different. Way
Right,
people was
right.
brought up, what they're passionate about, and even, let's be honest, there's something to be said about when a person is the primary breadwinner and they are shouldering the load of the financial burdens, right? It makes
Hmm,
the other
hmm.
person maybe more dependable on them. And
Yeah,
the
yeah.
reason or the logic behind that is such as if they're more dependent on you, that they're more loyal to you or
Right.
more accommodating of you or a number of things, right? But I think the other thing about that is like the title is more than money. And if we're
Yeah.
solely focused on money, I think we miss the mark tremendously. And you overlook those other things that matter in relationship too. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. I like that you asked also, Gregory, about this that buy the woman's loyalty. And if you
Hmm.
look at it, and you mentioned this on social media, if you look at it, it you can't hardly turn on social media, whether it's Facebook, IG, TikTok, and somebody is talking about, the man in some form or fashion
Yeah,
financing
yeah.
something, whether it's the family, whether it's a meal, whether it's a trip, whether it's
Hmm.
getting your nails done, your hair done. There's an expectation with some that is his job or his duty. And if it's not, that somebody else. And I think it makes it transactional, and not to unpack it too much now, but to your point, like, what does that mean if they can buy your loyalty? Is that a transactional relationship? And if it's such, how much control does he have over you based off of what he does for you? Is something that I think they got to consider.
Man, you just said a whole lot right there. That's a big conversation to have. Let's talk
Yeah,
about first how we got here though, because
yeah,
it didn't seem like this was a conversation in our parents' generation, and it didn't seem like it was even a conversation maybe even 20 years ago. It just kind of was assumed that when you are a couple, that whoever made the most money would generally contribute the most toward the bills, and who made the less just pitched in where they could. It seemed like, and I could be wrong, that both partners had a certain expectation. Like, listen, I'm not going to go into to this relationship not expecting to contribute something, so we were generally, it was kind of more like percentages. It was kind of like, since I make more, I'll pay the biggest lump sum. But now it just seems like the man has to do it all. But there was a time period years ago where men did pay it all, but the caveat to that was women didn't necessarily have all of the opportunities that they have today. And
yeah,
so the question, rises, is when we talk about women and equality, do women want equality in all areas, or do they get to pick and choose? So, like, I want to be able to earn as much money as men, but I want to keep it to myself. I don't want the responsibilities of actually having to pay the light bill, the water bill, and the mortgage. Men, y'all still keep that, but let me just be able to pick and choose the parts of equality that I actually want. And so that is sometimes the feeling that men have, is like, you make just as much, and sometimes often even more than I do, but the expectation is I still got to be the majority payer for all of the bills. I
yeah,
can see why men would be troubled by that.
yeah, yeah. You know, some great points. And when you were talking about like what happened then versus now,
Hmm.
times change. Not and the expectations a lot of times is built off of what's needed to even have a decent life, right?
Right.
So you think about when our parents and grandparents were coming up. Of course, there were women in the workforce, but there was less of them. And that whole idea, or the fact that women made pennies on a dollar compared to their male counterparts, was a
Hmm.
real thing that they had to contend with back then. So again, fast forward to today, when it takes often two incomes. Now I'm talking about just being practical about what it is. If it takes two incomes and you're a man, the woman, the male in the relationship can't afford to pay everything, then what? I mean, I
Right.
don't care what you wish or you would like to happen. If he can't afford it, he just can't afford it. And I
Yeah.
mean, there's numbering factors right there. Women, the black women are the highest educated population out
True.
there now.
Right.
Yeah, they're out there
Absolutely.
where the black women are getting it, and it's paying off in their income.
Yeah.
And kudos to them. I don't feel any kind of negative way about them. I am happy and I support women getting their education and increasing their finances so they can have a better quality of life. But again, towards think about the title of the show. It's more than money. So when you're getting in the relationship, and now she's no longer as dependent on him. What does that mean? And when I say dependent, a lot of it is by choice. So just paint it a different way now. Honestly, it is different. She's making more money, but she says like, "Hey, I want him to pay." If it ain't balancing out how she wanted it, the relationship ain't what she want. She don't have the same barriers or restrictions that keeps her in that relationship. So what's that old saying? I can do bad by myself, or I don't need you. So even
Yeah.
now, even if he's willing, but she's not happy in their relationship, guess what? She still can go, right?
Yeah. Yeah. She still can go. Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder how much of this is also due to age. I think, like, if you meet someone in their 20s and they're building their career, you kind of assume that we're both going to have to pitch in. But when you meet someone, they're late 40s, 50s, and 60s, I think it's kind of assumed that the man should be a little bit more established by that time. And it seems to be that a lot of older women, and I'm ready for the chat, I'm ready for the comments to blow up. It seems like older women have the expectation that if you're 40 plus, you should be established enough to carry the weight of all the finances by yourself.
And I was going to ask you, like, what does established mean? So I'm glad that you articulated that. So it's more money. But here's the thing that we know: more money don't mean that you're able to shoulder the responsibility of headship. So
Right.
is it only just to pay the bills, but I'm not the head of the household, or does that come with it? And there are so many dynamics, Gregory. And then we talked about this on the past show. Who's teaching him? Who's teaching people how to cohabitate, how to be a loving, supportive mate? A lot of the terminology that I hear a lot is we call it team, a teammate, a team. What is it? Partner, a
Yeah.
partnership, right? And
Yep.
not to
Sure.
reduce it, because the covenant is more than that. But essentially, you're talking about how do we partner together to make our life better, and it ain't just for the moment, right? We're talking
Right.
about, you talk about it all the time. We don't want to have to work uh, um, fingers to the bone when we're 70, 75, 80 years old, right? So,
No. Right.
yeah, what are we doing if I am paying the bills and she's not, because I'm able to, just say I'm able to, and she's not? What is she doing with that money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think that there's so much to be considered, and we make it so much about money that we forget the other parts of it. Again, what about our future? What about the security of our children? And then you talked about, now we're older, starting relationships. These people coming in with blended families now, right?
Yeah.
Their own
Yeah.
assets and retirement accounts and goals and ambitions, and when they want to retire and all that. So it's a lot to consider, and we focus so much on the money that I don't think people are even conscious of the need to go deeper at that, and understand, like, what does that mean and what does it even look like?
Yeah. 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 I've heard some pretty crazy stories about men that are out there dating. I think the wildest that I heard was a man, he asked a young woman out, and she texted him like the day before the date and said, "Well, I'm going to need $400." And she's like, he was like, "What do you need $400 for?" "Well, you asked me out, so you should have to buy the dress that I'm going to wear. You're going to have to pay for me to get my nails done so I can look nice for you. I need to get my hair touched up. I need to buy a new pair of shoes." And they had a little bit of back and forth. And she was thinking, well, if you're not able to do that for me, then you shouldn't be dating. And it's to a point now where it feels like some women are. That was an extreme example, of course. Most women don't believe that. I don't think that's true, but that was an extreme example. But then there is this certain thing that is out there now. This certain theory that even on the first date, it should be to a 5-star restaurant. You should be picked up in a private car. You should have all of these things like, the first date, in my opinion, should not cost more than $50. And that's just me, call me cheap. But I think $50 is adequate enough for a first date. That's a nice
Yeah,
coffee, that's a nice little pastry or whatever you have. Because on the first date, we're really trying to get to know each other. I should not have to impress you with everything I have. You should really get to know the person. Because if you're blinded by what I'm able to do with my money, then you're misleading yourself, because I may not even be a good catch. You just want my pockets.
yeah, yeah. Hey, we got my good friend Christy Glass. She's in there, and she's saying hello. What are we talking about? So, Christy, we're talking about people often, and it's not just women, men do it too, but they limit their value based off their bank account, how much money they make. So we're talking about that it takes more than that. So we're just talking about now, essentially, like, what are the expectations? Specifically, what Gregory is talking about now is dating, like a dating phase, when we're first meeting each other and we're going out on the date initially. What is the expectation? And I think there's no right or wrong. I think some people want to put their best foot forward, right? Initially.
Right.
And
Yeah.
if that's what he wants to do, and he says that, expectation, or allow that to be the standard, and so be it. But at the same time, I think it's smoke and mirrors, or it can be smoke and mirrors, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody, let's be honest, that's the easy part, taking someone to a nice restaurant, but
Yeah.
having those conversations that are meaningful and deep, and examine the heart and the thoughts and the attitudes that you have towards humanity. I think those things right there should be more of the focus. Can you do that over an expensive meal? Of course. Do people want to dress up and go sit down in a nice restaurant? Absolutely. But I think it's smoke and mirrors. It can be smoke and mirrors. You know, to people that got it, it's nothing to them, right? But to your point, if you're dating, you know, and you're trying to get to know somebody, and you may have one or two other people up there, man, it's gonna get expensive, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I don't think that stability is an irrational expectation for a relationship, right? We want stability, and that's fair to require in a relationship. But I think what is misguided is when you're going into a relationship expecting a soft life. Like I'm dating him just so I don't have to work. I'm dating him just so my bills can get paid. Uh, that becomes more transactional, and then that puts you in the position of you wanting these high value men, and you got to think, okay, if you want that small percentage of high value men, guess how many other women want these high value men, and what is it that you bring that's going to stand out from the crowd? Because I'm sure every woman wants a man. Generally, the standard is 6 foot, six pack, making six figures or more. Every woman out there wants that type of man. But what are you doing that kind of proves your worth for him? It's a back and
Yeah.
forth, and you don't want to reduce yourself just to
Yeah.
flesh.
As the saying go, that high value man has requirements and desires too, and not
Mhm.
just what you bring. Is it what you bring? Is that what he wants? So it's something to think about. But hey, so the other thing that you said that made me consider lost the thought, man. I lost the thought. Did it come back to me? Hey, I can tell you
Yeah.
this. Christy ain't feeling what you're saying, man. She said pull her in, and a couple other comments. She said no, 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 sir. So I think that was coming in when we were talking about paying for
Mhm.
meals especially, and all that again. And I think it can be convoluted or even conflated with being chivalrous, right?
Right,
Paying
right,
for the
right.
meal is considered chivalry, and if you're not, then by default you're not chivalrous. And I think it takes away from the facts of the relationship. Hey,
Mhm.
I'm meeting somebody for the first time. That was my thought. There's some with some people, there's a level of entitledness, right? Because they are a woman and they're going out with a man, he needs to wine and dine them. And I'm not saying that anything's necessarily wrong with him doing that, but I'm talking about the entitled behavior that comes with it, a mindset that comes with it that says, just because I'm the woman and going out with you, that needs to happen. What happened, Gregory? Now, it's a question for you to earning your place in a person's life, the where he can treat you, better than average or different from how he treats everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I think that everybody should consider themselves a prize. And I think that if I was a single person and social media was my only instructor, my only teacher about relationships, I would think that women were more valuable than men. And what a lot of people find themselves doing that are single is that we don't really engage with each other. We don't have a circle of friends that can really give us real life experiences. And so where do we go for learning relationships? We go to social media, we go to these, so-called experts and know-it-alls, but we don't have,
Music.
these people that have been in long-standing healthy relationships, be it married or just being it courting. We go to social media and we allow these people who we listen to everyone who has a camera to talk
Yeah,
to, and and
yeah.
and we get misguided that way. I have had an experience once, and I was very pleasantly surprised by this, where I had asked a young lady out, and I had said, well, I'd like to take you to this restaurant, nothing really fancy. And she had said, you know what, I really want to get to know you better. How about we just meet for coffee the first time? And I felt that that was a really good pivot because it showed me that she's not interested in how well I can impress her. She just said, well, let's just get to know each other first, and then we'll decide down the road if we want to continue. And I thought that was really a great way of showing value to me. It was like, I don't need you to spend a lot of money on me. I just really want to know if this is something worth investing in. And so I think that's one way that a woman can really kind of show up and stand out from the crowd, is to kind of just say, you know what, let's take it a little bit slower and let's move it down a notch a bit. So,
Yeah. I think that's worth doing too. We got the high rate of divorce in our community right now, and a lot of them conflate or mistake love for infatuation for love. Right?
Hmm.
It's new. We're having fun. We're traveling. We're doing all this extracurricular in the boom boom room, and it's like, man, let's get married, right? And then you get married, and now life is settling in. And what's to do besides the fun, right? When the credit cards are high because you've been traveling and spending and all that, and it's time to face each other's fears and concerns and dreams and ambitions and all that, right? And they have nothing. So when we're talking about more than money, I think that's a part of it. It's like, you know, it's first thing people want to know is what do you work, how much do you make, and what are the benefits of it, right? But it has to be more to it because if it was that, the divorce rate wouldn't be as high as it is, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of it is tied to respect too. I think that I want to pose the question to all the women that are watching: can you respect a man that makes less money than you? Because like when the bill comes in and he can't pay the bill, but let's say you could, but he can't, can you still show him respect? I know I shared this before on a previous show where there was a panel of these high value women, each were making 1 million plus a year. And the questions was, could you date a man who was not as professionally ambitious as you? All of them said no. And I always thought, man, that made me. I understood why they said that because they were go getters and they had reached a certain pinnacle in life. But it made me sad for the man who is a good man who makes a respectful $60,000 a year as a high school math teacher. And so, if you are a high value woman and you meet a good, solid, Christian, lovable, dependable, accountable man who makes a respectful $60,000 a year, you make, double that. When the bills due and he can't contribute as much as you can you respect that? And I think that men have this psychology that she's not going to respect me, so let me not even try. And I think that that gets also confused with intimidation. I don't think men are intimidated by successful women. I think they just look at reality and go, sooner or later, she's not going to want to carry the financial load. So let me not even attempt to approach her.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what we always say: the conversation. Understanding. Let's communicate and ask those pointed questions, and not just, "Hey, are you gonna be okay with me making less than you?" Yes, okay. Everybody live happily ever after. I think you need to unpack that. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like down the road? Okay, my the example you gave of a math teacher making 60,000 and she makes 120,000. What are her goals? Does she want to travel? You know, frequent travel to, not just the next state over, but international travel. These things that cost more. And what does that look like? Because okay, if he is, I know people who there's one good friend of mine. He pays most of the bills, but she pays for the travel. They do travel a lot, but she
Hmm.
covers a lot of the expenses. So them now they both make good money, but I'm just saying in those instances though, Gregory, how are you unpacking that? Like, what does that look like down the road if I'm making half the money that you're making? And it's
Yeah,
like in asking her like, what else other than money do you think is important for a relationship? And I think a
absolutely.
lot of people struggle verbalizing those things right there. What else am I looking for?
Yeah, yeah. How much value do you put on it? Unfortunately, I have seen a lot of women that would be okay with that scenario, but it's usually women that have this caveat where they have had pain or trauma in the past, right? It's usually accompanied by some type of disappointment in the men that they have dated in the past. Where they go, I just want honesty. I want reliability. I want consistency. It doesn't matter how much he makes. I just want someone I know that I can trust. And women that have reached that point, as I have seen it, and ladies, feel free to let me know what you think, is usually after being disappointed time and time and time again by the wrong man that they go, you know what? My values have shifted now. that he doesn't have to make a certain dollar amount as long as he's a good, decent human being. You
Yeah.
find that a lot too, unfortunately.
But again, I will say this: you have to unpack that. What does a good, decent human being mean? What does it look like? And again,
Hmm.
those conversations, I can tell you from the many conversations I have, like they're very surface level. You know,
Mm.
and I'll give you examples. One says like, "Yeah, I don't like to go out. I'm a homebody. I just like to cook and watch TV." I'm like, okay, but what does that mean? Like, what are your passions? What are your goals? What do you
Hmm.
want to be in 5 years? Financially, speaking.
Yeah.
What do you want to retire early, or do you want to work till you're 65 or 70? And if not, what are you doing to make that
Make that
happen?
happen.
And
Yeah.
those are the deeper conversations where it's more than just what color you like or what's your favorite food. You got to get
Hmm.
in to know, like, what are we going to be doing in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and what are we
Hmm.
doing to get there?
Yeah. Where do you see yourself and what are you doing now?
Yeah.
And that brings up another point. It feels like as a man, you can't date until you're already there. So if you have a goal of, I don't know, like let's just say for conversation, becoming a barber, owning your own barbershop, but you're currently in barber school, you feel like nobody, as speaking for men, the way that the social media approaches this thing, it's like until you own your own barbershop, don't even waste my time. Like you can't be in process, you have to already be developed fully as a
I
man.
think I think the part of the issue is who is he dating?
Hmm.
There are women that in their own right, if that's what they want, that's what they want.
Yeah.
But why are you hunting for or in the market for that kind of woman? There are women that out there ready to help build, support, multiply, what you got going on. But let's also be honest. If you're in barber school and you don't have the income to barely support yourself, should you be dating? And I think that's a lot of women ask that, and I think it's a fair question.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. It is. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
And it might be that
Uh,
season where you say, you know what, this is where I do work on me, and without
mhm.
the outside influence, because once you're in a relationship, you owe something to the person you're in a relationship with. Attention, uh, to be a friend, to be a listener. Just to be a presence in their life. So you got to think, what am I doing, and does it is it what's the word I'm looking for? Is it conducive to a healthy relationship?
Yeah. Yeah. Are we getting any comments about the topic?
Yeah, yeah, man. Christy ain't feeling you, man. She says, "Bull." She said, "Look, everything has an avenue. Everything has an agenda," and she's right. People get into relationships and they know what they want, but I think it's a lot of assumptions there, and even the assumptions is not about the other person. There's a lot of unknowns about self when people get in there, and we're basing what we are seeking based off of old information. And when I say that, when I came out of my divorce, I had to learn who I was then. The person that I was 3, 4, 5 years before that is not who I was then. And I was doing old stuff, and I realized, like, man, I don't even want to do this. Or I don't even like that. Or I would rather try this right now. So I think
Hmm.
that's a big part of it, is realizing, like, who you are, not just who the person you're dating. You got to know who you are so that you can communicate that in an honest way.
I think that's one of the most important things you can bring to a relationship is a healthy you and
Mhm.
very defined you.
Yeah.
We tend to get in relationships just looking for a good feeling, but we don't understand what it is we actually need to feel nourished, and we don't even understand our own triggers.
Yeah.
And knowing your triggers, yeah, is probably one of the most valuable things you can take the time and learn about yourself. And when they
Yeah.
pop up, acknowledge that as a trigger and try to find out why.
Yeah.
Because a person can only push your buttons if you have them, right?
Yeah.
And so if something triggers you, that means that there's a sensitivity there that needs to be explored. And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the best things you can do for yourself is find
And,
out
and
why you
yeah.
behave the way you do.
And I think that works for those known triggers, but there's some
Hmm.
things that you don't even know about yourself, and you didn't realize you had an issue with it until someone brought that in. So I
Hmm.
think part of that is self-awareness. But even with that, I think there's limitations based off the circumstances. I know a big one these days, Gregory, are blended families, right? People
Mm-hmm.
can love kids and they can love
Mm-hmm.
people in general. But when you get in a relationship, marry or commit a relationship with someone with kids, it's some things that you don't know, you don't even know that you don't know, right? And so you
Mm-hmm.
get in there and you realize like, wow, this is challenging, this is different, this is even sometimes difficult, right? But then you hear people say, I didn't sign up for this. But
Mm-hmm.
one of those things sometimes you didn't even know. And unfortunately, man, we're a reactive society. We don't deal with a lot of stuff until we knee deep in it, and now we're trying to figure it out, right? But by
Yeah.
that time, we under the same roof, same bank accounts, and they got intimate with each other, brought each other around, family and friends, and yeah, and now you got people second guessing.
Not only are we a reactive society, our society doesn't have any patience. We wanted it yesterday.
Yeah,
We don't take the time to really vet the person that we're with.
yeah,
We just, like you said, just run into it, and we figure it out as we go.
yeah,
But no, it's important to take times, and finances is one of those issues where you really should just take your time and go, hey, can I take a look at your credit report? I'm willing to show you mine. What are your spending habits? Where do you spend most of your money? And those are things, and it doesn't necessarily have to disqualify somebody, but it is things that you need to know so that you can say, okay, now as we partner together here, or this is how I spend my money, and this is where I would like to see us do together so we can build and not sink.
yeah.
Um, those are definitely conversations that need to be had.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And to the audience, we got the comments coming in, people agreeing, some don't agree. And we understand, we tell them all the time, Gregory, we're not the experts, right? But
Hmm.
we do value everybody's feedback and opinion. Again, there's no one way to do it. And just encourage everybody to be more thoughtful of not just um, what's that saying, Gregory, is instead of creating a list of what I want, I also have a list of what I give and what the other person want. And I think that's a often overlooked part of it is not just what I bring, because I say that, Gregory, because some people don't even know what all they bring. And sometimes
Yeah.
what they bring is not as desirable, as they think it is. So just something to think
Yeah.
about.
We're talking about the 50-50 conversation, and 50-50 isn't just finances. If you reduce it to just that, then you're going to have an unsuccessful relationship.
Yeah,
What a person contributes should also go beyond finances. And so I just want to like explore the things that men bring to a conversation, to a relationship, and the things that women bring to a
yeah.
relationship that should be weighed as equally as
Right.
finances.
So
And
let's
so,
go to the commercial break, and then after that, we'll come back and hit that topic.
all right, sure thing.
Cool. All right.
Real men talk. If I had a group of brothers that I could confide in, a group of brothers that encourage me to be the best man possible, that hold me accountable for actions, but brothers that won't beat me down when I fall short. If I had brothers like that in my life, I'd open up more about my challenges. I wouldn't be afraid of being vulnerable and transparent. I'd be more deliberate in my actions and not scared of failure. I wouldn't act like everything is okay when I'm hurting inside. Sometimes it seems like there's an all-out assault from the world on black men, and hurtful words from my lady cut deep. I can't show my pain, 'cause if she knew that she hurt me, she would do it over and over again, hoping that each time cut deeper than the last. I do understand that women have challenges too. That's why I work so hard to be the strength she needs. But I need a band of brothers who understand that sometimes I simply want them to listen. Sometimes I need advice, but other times I need a shoulder to lean on. I need a band of brothers that create a safe space that gives us all a chance to talk about our fears. Because it's therapeutic when real men talk. Real men talk. Real men talk.
Real men do talk. I think what is particularly poignant about that is being able to express what you say without feeling judged. Sometimes men don't actually want to express themselves because it's not always politically correct, right?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's just a frustration, it's a thought, it's probably even an incomplete thought that we're trying to process, and we just want to get it out. And maybe someone else finishes that thought for us or helps us finish what is going on inside of us. And so having that network of men that you can be real with helps you out a lot because it helps you fill in the gaps and you can release all of that tension. So real men talk definitely, and I want to encourage the brothers. If you don't have someone to talk to, find someone to talk to because life is too hard to go through it by yourself.
Yeah,
You're
and
gonna
I
need to
love
talk to
that you
somebody.
said filling in the gap because through these conversations, you'll find out that you're sharing some of the same challenges, but
Hmm.
sometimes just talking, everything. I like to say this, Gregory. There is not a resolution or solution, if you will, to everything. Sometimes it's just understanding.
Hmm.
Sometimes when you understand how things go, then you can begin to just perceive them different, right?
Yeah.
And take them on different. So it's important to your point to make sure that you got people, like-minded people that you can
Hmm.
share your concerns with, so you can talk to them.
And not only that, oh, in addition to that, I forgot what I was just about to say. Gosh, I must be tired. I forgot just that quickly what I was going to say.
We talking about the
But yeah,
resolution. Everything's not a resolution. Was it something about that? No.
it was. It'll come to me like 10 minutes
Yeah.
from now. I'll be like,
Okay.
oh, this is what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But it's definitely important to. Oh, I know what it was. It was there's really nothing new under the sun. Whatever it is you feel like you're going through, trust me, there's another man that's been through it. Financial strain, relationship issues, health issues, parenting issues. There's nothing new that some other man hasn't went through and succeeded and come out of. So you only will find the solutions if you seek it. So seek and you shall find. So having these conversations, and you're absolutely right. We'll be surprised as to how much we actually have in common once we start opening up.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So before the break, we was talking about those things other than money that people can bring to a relationship. So you want to kick off that conversation?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't think that finances, I think finances are important, but
Of
I
course.
think that you have to prioritize it and make sure it's in its proper place. A lot of times people will say that the most important thing in a relationship is good communication. I tend not to agree with that. The most important thing I feel in a relationship is trust. And so I think if you're going to be in a relationship with someone, you want to be with someone who you can trust. And so that bleeds into every other area, even financially, that knowing that this person has the similar values and will have the best intentions when it comes to their actions. And so I think trust is one of the things that is actually more.
There you go. You back?
Yeah, I'm back. And
Okay.
so, yeah, you want to find someone that you can trust. I mean, because I don't want to have a lot of money, but I don't trust that you will spend it right. Because there is such a thing as financial abuse, and so you meet men who hold the purse strings and they limit the access to the funds for the woman, or they dictate where we go, how we eat, how we live, and women will sometimes find themselves prisoners in this relationship. But he has all of the money. I have golden handcuffs. I live in a golden cage. I can't do anything because he controls the purse string. So you do want to be with someone who you trust, which is I also think is important. The second, did you want to say anything about that before I say the second thing?
No, I agree with you on that. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, it's the second thing that a man brings, and goes both ways that women bring too, is perspective. And I think that is something that is heavily discounted in relationships. Being with someone who can help you see life in a 360, who can say, well, I understand where you're coming from, but did you think about this other perspective? Did you think about handling it this way or approaching it a different way? that masculine and feminine energy, sometimes we'll see things and want to approach problems in a different way. So another valuable thing that a partner should bring, more valuable than money, is a good perspective about how to handle tensions with family, friends, and work. You want a partner that when there are issues are able to bring options to how you can handle life's challenges and not just, go along with the show, but also challenge you to open up your mind and to see things in a bigger, broader way, and hopefully move your consciousness forward. So perspective is a
Yeah,
good thing that a man brings to the table also.
yeah, that's important too. Sometimes we can be so narrow-sighted, right, that we only
Hmm.
see what we see, and a lot of that is driven based off of experience,
Yeah.
our own fears, or our own selfish desires, right? So you don't even know you're being controlled by, this other force, from within till you
Hmm.
calm down, or till someone can convince you, like, hey, what you said, let's look at this from a different perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another quality that a man brings to a relationship that I think also is more important than money is protection. And when I say protection, most people think physical protection, which is included, but then also emotional protection. And so there are times there's been scenarios that you may find yourself in, or your lady may find herself in, that it has grown, has become too challenging for her. And so what that means is that you can now step in and you can guide her through it. And for some women, that may sound a bit antiquated. I don't need a man to be my teacher or my guide or my life coach. I need him to just be my man. But then there's also this protection, like, sweetie, I don't think you should go there. I don't know if I particularly trust this business opportunity or this person that's approaching you. This is not gonna work out good for you. So there is a level of protection along with the physical that a man brings that can help avoid some mishaps. And unfortunately, we do live in a world that when a man shows up alongside you, you get more respect. Now, you may go to the mechanic and you may actually know more than your man does about the car. But the fact is, because you have a man next to you, you're going to be treated with a little bit more respect because you have a man there. It's an unfortunate thing, but it is a real thing. And so so protection is another thing that I think a man brings to a woman that's actually more important than money.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I was thinking about when you were listening and things, you didn't say protecting them from watching certain TV shows, right? From polluting their
Mhm.
minds.
Yeah, yeah. There is a lot to be said about that too, because because we don't get to see ourselves, right? We see reflections of ourselves, but we don't really get to see ourselves. And so when you have a partner that can is actually looking at you, they can see what those habits are that aren't good. So it could be social media, it could be too much television, it could be too much net gossiping, right? And your partner comes to you and say, "Yo, hey, listen, that's not good for you. You're beginning to sound like these people who you criticize, or you begin to become somebody that you said you never wanted to be like."
Yeah,
That's another form of protection. Having someone that can be observe you as you go through life, and make sure that you live in the right way, a
that's
productive way.
good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So there are a number of things, and of course there is partnership. It is just good to have somebody around the house, right? To help out with the chores, to help out with fixing things. Men also bring that. Certainly, women do that too. And so going through life with a partner that you can trust, that gives you perspective, that also can bring you protection. All of those things are actually more important than finances. I say that because those are things that a person cannot obtain. They have to acquire through life. And so, money in of itself is something that we can earn. Um, it may not be a straight line, but eventually you can get a better job. You can find ways to acquire more income. But character is something that is harder to find than a better job, if that makes sense what I'm saying. And so
So,
while money is something that you can go out and hunt and seek and bring in, character, perspective, values, and morals are things that are a bit more harder to find. And so that's why I present that those are more valuable than income, because at any point at any time, with effort and intention, your man can get a better job. He can
Yeah.
become a higher earner. That is within his power to do if he puts forth that initiative. But it is a much harder hill to climb to become a man of high character, of values, of protection and provision and perspective that's going to contribute to your life. So that's why I think those qualities are more important than finances.
That's good. That's good. And one, you mentioned emotional stability, but I did want to stay
Mhm.
there just for a moment. And I know that's one of your strong suits too, talking about emotional stability, emotional wellness. But I'm just wanting to talk about how closely they're linked. That's linked to trustworthiness. And I call them like, if not siblings, they're at least first cousins, right?
Yeah,
Emotional
yeah, yeah.
stability and then being trustworthy.
Right.
When challenges happen, I know I've heard women say like, you know what, I panicked, but he calmed me down, right?
Right.
And that comes with that calm presence during chaos. And not saying that women can't do it, but just talking about what a man can or should be able to bring. That is, I think, is an important one, and emotional stability is closely tied to trustworthiness. And that the other part is I've been or heard people talk about their relationships that when minute it's emotional, they're ready to cut out. And one of the worst things that a person could be in a relationship and wonder if that person is committed to them. And that's closely again aligned with being trustworthy. Do I trust that he's here or that she's here for the long run and for our betterment?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I think that's a great conversation to be had. You know, one of my favorite lines is, "You can't choose what part of the blessing that you don't want." And I don't know if you necessarily want your woman to be less emotional than she is, because a woman's intuition and emotional landscape is what makes them great mothers and caregivers and
Absolutely.
lovers and partners, right? Because they're so in tune with their emotions that just pours out of them, and we reap the benefits of that. So,
And a
and
lot
then
of those emotions are protections too, right? Those feelings and
mhm,
emotions are protections. So I can't imagine a world where people are without emotions. Like how
right,
still
right.
would they be, man? Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then conversely, men more often than not tend to be a little bit more stoic than women. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule, but you also, women, you want that too, because like if you're driving home one night and there's a flat tire, you don't want your man thinking, "Oh, but my outfit is going to get dirty and I might hurt myself." You want him to get out the car and just go change the tire, right? And not necessarily care
Yeah.
about getting dirty or
I'm
whatever it
calling
may be.
roadside, brother. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I'm calling roadside. Them days over.
And so there is a certain level, like you said, of trustworthiness when you know you can count on your man to be level-headed no matter what the situation is. And so, be it financial crisis, be it a health issue, be it challenges with the kids, you know that he's going to be reasonable and level-headed about it. That does create a sense of stability, calmness, and then trustworthiness that everything's going to be okay. He's not going to go get erratic. He's not going to fly off the handle. He's going to think logically about this. And whatever decision he chooses, I know that he thought it through. This wasn't just some knee jerk reaction. And
Yeah.
so, as we start to blend our lives together, we have to kind of accept there are some perks to us being different, and then there's some adjustments that I have to accept or I have to make in order for this to work. I can't choose what part of the blessing I don't want.
Yeah. And as we wrap up the discussion, because I know you got some powerful words for us to take home with us and consider how to become better, but you're not advocating for perfection, right? You're not saying that
Hmm.
these men that possess these things are going to always show them perfectly, right?
Hmm.
He's human. The best people on this
Right,
earth are human, and they're going to have bad days and down moments, and you know, a glitch in the matrix every now and then. But so, can
right,
you,
right.
before you wrap up the discussion, can you talk about how important it is when you're in these relationships and considering more than money, how important grace is for so this man can be the best that he can be?
Yeah, there is this time between the excitement of wanting something and then learning how to successfully navigate it. And so I remember teaching both of my daughters how to ride a bike, and both of them also to how to drive a car. And so when they both turned 16, they both wanted to learn how to drive, right? And so they were in the beginning very, 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 very excited about getting behind the steering wheel or hopping on the bike and learning how to do it. But especially with the bike, guess what happens when you're learning something new, like riding a bike? You inevitably are going to fall. You're going to maybe even get a couple of scratches. But if you really want it, you're going to get back up and you're going to learn. Failure is just part of the process of learning how to do it successfully. In a relationship, what we should accept to be true is that we're in a perpetual state of learning how to do it successfully. That never ends, that will never stop because the person you're with is always evolving, always changing, always discovering themselves. And so just remember, like in the beginning, you were super excited about this relationship. Now, once that excitement has been present, the rest of the course of that relationship is you learning how to do it successfully, like riding the bike. I'm still learning how to do this relationship successfully. And so I'm going to fall a few times, but because I really, really want this, I'm going to get back on it and I'm going to try to learn how to do it better. I'm going to keep learning how to do it better.
It's dope. I
Yeah.
love it. Love it. Man, good stuff, man. So this was a good discussion. We've been talking about more than money, understanding, highlighting things that people bring to a relationship besides money. And again, we're not saying that money is not important. There's
Right.
this thing I just hear this lady say on social media. She said, money ain't everything, but it dang sure pay the rent. It's
Yes,
needed.
right.
But you say this all the time, it's a tool, right? So
Yeah, it's a tool.
that's why I want people to always take away from this. Like, yes, you absolutely need it, and it keeps you sometimes out of a financial poverty. But the worst thing to do is being a emotional and mental poverty because you're thinking money can compensate for everything else, all your other shortcomings. So, um, man, just want to let you wrap the show up, the discussion, and give us some parting thoughts.
I love this conversation, because it gives men an opportunity to say, aren't I worth more than just money? And it gives women an opportunity to say, well, I want a man that's going to make me feel safe and secure. And we both are wanting the same things, right? Women are wanting just to know I'm with a man that I can relax with. I can relax that even if I don't got it, he's got us, or he's able to figure it out to make it happen. And men are just saying, hey, I don't mind being that dude, but I want to know that you love me more than just my wallet. And so in our search to find this relationship, what we should avoid is reducing people to tools and not their character. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to be healthy. So you want to find a person that is healthy for you. That person may make $1 million a year. That person may make $100,000 a year. That person may make $50,000 a year. But find the person that makes your world flourish, because money is a tool that can be required based on your effort, based on your own initiative. But character is a true investment that's going to make really your life much more richer. You have to ask yourself, would I rather be rich in love and character or just in money? Money is something that comes and it goes. It can flow in and it can flow out. But a person that is stable and consistent, that's a harder find.
Yeah, and those finances are gonna come eventually. I
Yeah.
truly believe that. There's no saying that character is the gift that keeps on giving. So
Hmm.
finding someone with high character is definitely a goal that we all should try to achieve. So Benita says, I like that. Having someone healthy for you, that's a good word. Appreciate that. People
Yeah.
would try to stress you out. Peace is a real thing. And it's crazy, right? It's hard to think like who in their right mind want people to be stressed? But that's a real thing, Gregory. There's people out there that really want to destroy your
Yeah,
peace. They see
they
you
do.
happy, they see you achieving, they see you progressing, and it's you can expect it from some certain people, but when it's the people that's closest to you, that could be hurtful, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. People, Gosh, when people don't want to see you succeed, it's only because you show them up for what they're not. They're
Yeah.
embarrassed that they didn't work as hard as you, or they didn't take life as serious as you. And so then they feel like you got an attitude or you're conceited. That's not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good deal. So you got some coming up this weekend. I'm gonna
I
share
do.
on the screen.
I
I'm gonna let you
do.
talk about this event that you
I
are participating.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm teaming up with the Lab Unmuted, which is happening Saturday in Frisco at 1 p.m. And so the purpose of the lab is an opportunity for parents and student athletes to communicate together. And so it's going to be this Saturday at 1 p.m. at the Sandman Hotel in Frisco, Texas. And so what we're looking to do is to open up the conversation between parents and student athletes so that they can communicate better. My role is to facilitate how communication can be improved, how parents can make sure that they are articulating and sending the right messages to their students, and how students can communicate to their parents what their needs are in a way that doesn't create friction, in ways that people can feel appreciated and seen. Because it's hard, number one, being a teenager. It is hard. I don't care what anyone says, being a teenager is hard. Then the demands of academics, that is hard as well. And then you have these pressures of coaches and the school and everybody looking at you to deliver on the court or on the field. And for someone who is not yet fully evolved mentally or socially, that can be overwhelming. And so we find a lot of student athletes facing these mental health crises in their identity and struggling with self-esteem because on the court, they may not have shown up the way that the school wants them to or the coach wants them to. And so they lean on their parents, and that's where parents can step in and say, here's how to navigate this season of life. And so the Lab Unmuted this Saturday, 1 p.m. at the Sandman. They're also going to have a panel of parents and student athletes to answer questions. So if you have a student athlete, no matter what it is, if it's golf, if it's chess, if it's basketball, if it's football, if it's ping pong, you want to come out if you have a student who is serious about a particular sport so that you can help them navigate the stress of wanting to succeed in their chosen field of sport and also in life. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'm just super excited about it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, so it's 1 o'clock this Saturday, March 28th in the Frisco Plano area, Sandman Flat Hotel. So we got this QR code that's attached to this flyer. We'll make
Yep.
sure that we put it in the comments, but also, Gregory, if you don't mind, when you get to the comments, just put some of the information in there, type it out so people can
Absolutely.
have it.
Absolutely. I'll be sure to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, hey, it is free.
And it's,
And it's free. Come on out. We're going to save a seat just for you. So you get to come in and listen to the panel. And you also get to be part of the workshop that I'll be leading about how to communicate effectively back and forth. And then also, if that doesn't ring your bell, there's also going to be snacks. So they have me at snacks. When it says going to be free snacks, I said I'm there.
in
You
there.
don't have to convince me anymore.
Yeah. So real quick before we get out of here, we got Dorkeisha. Hadn't seen her on in a while, so appreciate you tuning in. Hope
What's up,
everything is well
Dorkeisha?
with you. And
Thank you
Bonita
for
had another
watching.
comment. She said her last relationship ended because he just had bad spirited. He was bad spirited about everything. You know, I don't know. I've been around people like that, and actually have been in a relationship with a Debbie Downer. Like
Yeah.
they shoot down everything. Everything is a complaint. They skeptical about everything. It's those pessimists. The glass is half empty about everything, right? And they can steal the joy. So Bonita, bless you. You know, I hate to see relationships end, but sometimes that's the blessing, right?
That is, yeah. I love to see people find freedom
That's the way to look at it. Freedom.
now.
Yeah. Close us out, brother, so we can end the show.
Listen, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We truly appreciate it. We truly appreciate the comments. You guys taking time to listen to us, and we hope that this conversation has been a blessing to you. Thank you all so much for your support. Don't forget, every Thursday, 7:30, right here, the Floor is Yours podcast. It's exactly that, your podcast. So keep the comments coming, Gerard and I. We like to slip in the comments, so you never know when we may be responding to your comments. So keep them coming even long after the show. But until next time, we just want to say thank you for watching. Peace, love, hair grease, and we out.
Need another, this one here really do it for you. Baby,